Hello, I'm here to talk to you about the scientific method and physics. This is for Physics 100 and the scientific method and the basis of science. So, what is science? What is the scientific method? So, science, biology, chemistry, geology, and physics are examples of a science. Physics, the topic of this course, might be defined as the basics nature of matter and the interactions that govern its behavior. So, talked about different types of sciences, and physics is one of them. What is a science? A science follows the scientific method. The scientific method is a continuing process that can identify a false understanding of nature. Science cannot prove something is true, just reduce the possibility that it is false. Science takes a long time. It takes patience because of this. So, sort of a diagram of what's happening with science. You have some sort of test or observation. And then you take these tests, these observations, and you try to find some sort of pattern. You see the sun rises in the east every day and sets in the west. And then pretty soon you see a pattern. It always rises over here, sets over there. And then you start to get, some analysis. It's going to keep on doing that. But also you start getting some sort of hypothesis. Why is it doing this? And that's really what makes science, is when you ask why. And you might speculate. So a hypothesis is just a guess, and most of the time that guess is wrong. So you might speculate that the sun is born out of hills to the east and might extinguish in a lake to the west. Okay, now what do? Well, now you test that hypothesis. You go and, let's say, spend the day and climb to those hills and look the next morning and see if the sun bubbles out of the hills. When it doesn't, then you have to figure out a new hypothesis. It has to match with your data in your past, yet also match with this new data. And then you get a new hypothesis. And that probably fails. But every time you go around in the cycle, you learn some more things. You start to analyze what's happening. You start to ask why, and get more and more ideas as to what this could be. If, and this is unlikely, but obviously it does happen, you have something that passes many different types of tests and observations, and you get more and more sure that this thing could be really the true nature of our physical world. Then you go and set about and raise this hypothesis to a theory. A theory is still part of the scientific method, but if something gets to a level of a theory, then if you see something, you have some test or observation that goes against that theory, your first inclination is to say, wait a minute, maybe that test or observation is wrong. But if that proves to be true and that theory is found to be false, then you have to start over again. But you have a lot more knowledge, a lot more understanding of the situation. And so you can develop a new hypothesis, and hopefully that will go around many more times and become a theory. So we think of science as being something done in a lab by people who perhaps have not met. But in reality, science is something that you interact with every day, even though you don't think about it. So we have people like Rene Descartes and Galileo Galilei. They're some of the first known writings about the scientific method and what that is. But it happened well before them, maybe even well before humans in a sense. So what do I mean by that? I'll explain. So scientific method is really part of our everyday lives. You hear a noise, you see something, and you go, what is that? Let's say you're asleep, you hear some weird noise, it wakes you up. You go, what is that? And you go, maybe it's in the closet, something fell in the closet. Well, what do? Well, you could roll over and go back to sleep. That's an idea. Or you could get up, go to the closet, turn on the light, see if something fell in the closet, and maybe something did. Or maybe you say, wait, no, it's not the closet. Well, I think it could be. And each time that's another hypothesis, and you test that out. You go and investigate, is that this? Is it that? And then you might find what it is. Or maybe you don't. Maybe the next night you hear the same noise, and you go, well, I heard I know it's not this, this, and this. Maybe it's this. You try to investigate and try to come to some hypothesis, and maybe it is something that's provable. And you even see how animals, they might go and it's the same thing. They investigate, something is there. They see something, there's some smell, something that they look for, and they try to figure out, what is that? Is this, is this a mouse? Is this something good to eat? In a sense, they're doing the scientific method. So that's why I say the scientific method, we think of this as part of our modern society, and it is. It's a basis of our modern society, but it's been around longer than humans have been. We realize that we do it. We have a name for it. We've documented it, and we have a whole complex infrastructure to look at this. So, what have you done lately that follows the scientific method? Have you done something like that? You heard some noise, saw something, you go, what is that? And you go investigate. Well, that looks strange, and then you get close. Oh no, it's really this. I thought it was that, but now that I got here and looked at a different angle, I realized it was this. In a sense, that's a scientific method. You probably might have done that today, or in the past few days, maybe a few minutes ago. So, in summary, what's happening here? Well, we have the science of physics. And what is physics? Well, it's this study of matter, really matter and energy, and its interactions. Why does matter behave like it does, and matter and energy, and what occurs with them? And we'll explore that. Why is this a science? Well, it follows the scientific method. So that's what makes something a science, and physics is just one of the sciences. There's, of course, many other ways. Science is a way of investigating something, and physics is just one of the things that is being investigated.